Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and I'm here with a different type of game right here called Twinkle Star Nights. Now, this is a game that's only out on DMM, so you're only able to play the Japanese version. But it's a game I've recently been getting into. Some people have asked me about it. Others, they've um they've been playing it as well. Some people figuring stuff out on their own. But generally, I'm just gonna give my personal tips and tricks for this one. It's not really like a guide video because this game's still very early. But there are some stuff that people have basically more or less gone through. But first things first, as you can see on the screen, there's this little notepad thing back here. You can click this and actually get some extra stuff. I don't know how much time it takes, but you probably want to do it because a lot of these resources are not very easy to come by. Now, before you even get into the major point of the game is the fact that you definitely want to go up here and clear as much of the storyline as you can as possible, at least on normal mode. Hard mode, you don't necessarily have to go through it immediately, but you probably should because you're going to start getting a lot of extra stuff here. As you can see, I'm like chapter 7, midway through chapter 8. But beating stages, and I suggest you get God rank because it affects what drops. But beating stages, you can hit this little skip button right here and skip based on the stamina or whatever resources you have. And it's a good way to grind out some of the stuff you want. Now, hard mode's got a better chance of getting you the 2-star stuff, but you can get it in normal. So there's that. But you want to try to at least get 2-star equipment, in my opinion. You could try and aim for the 3-star, but even if you try to go through the most recent stages that they drop in, it's going to take you a while. And plus, you're probably going to want to look at a wiki for this one. I'm going to link one in the description because there's a lot of stuff in this game and you need to see what they do. You really need to see what they do. Because going into the teams themselves, first and foremost, you definitely want to try and set up a good, nice spread of characters. Now, to break down the team that I'm using here, I have one girl that can deal damage, and I basically got 3 supports, but it's more like 4 supports basically, because the healer is also like a supporter as well. But they're basically manipulating turn orders and whatnot in order to try to make sure I get as many turns as possible without giving the enemy one. The 2 girls that I have at level 100 are definitely girls that you're going to want to go after because they are extraordinarily powerful. But I'll explain more about them as I go into it. But you need to have some good team synergy with this game or you're probably going to get completely demolished. Trust me on that one. And then on top of that too, you want to give them the equipment as well. But getting into the girls first, this first girl is stupidly powerful. And I managed to get her unique accessory, which comes from something I will mention later, but basically she's one of the best DPS characters in the game. Mainly because when it comes to skills in this game, when you use a character's turn, they do their normal attack or whatever, and if they're not affected by certain status effects or whatever, they will give you a chance to use their EX attacks. This is what makes her so broken. Her first EX attack deals quite a bit of damage, self-buffs herself, and pushes everybody on the team forward a little bit. All in one. You don't even need her second one, which is good for pushing enemies into stun, but you don't really need to use it. I've leveled up both a bit, but I'm mainly focusing on this one. Now, characters also have their normal levels. Just get them as far as you can. And then on top of that too, they have this little star system as well. This is going to be important with the next character, but keep in mind that if you get somebody basically up to 3 stars or they start off at that, you don't necessarily have to worry about stars that much anymore. You could if you want, but you don't have to. And then the other thing is the equipment page too, where you can just equip what you want. I pick stuff that I tend to like getting her more damage out on. So I tried to give her some critical rate stuff, and then because critical is decent in this game, you have a good amount of it, but you don't have to go for that. You can just go raw attack. But she's got a pretty good critical rate between all of that. And then her unique accessory, everybody's unique accessory increases the effectiveness of their skills, as well as giving them a nice little stat boost somewhere in some direction. in her case, and this girl's named Venus, by the way, but she gets basically more damage on her first skill, and I do believe the second one has some better effects as well. But you shouldn't be using her second skill, just her first. You don't necessarily have to get her unique accessory, but I got it because it helps, especially seeing that she gets more base attack, and that's going to stack pretty nicely. This last page is for upping their affection levels. If you're just going for the scenes, you only need level 7. But you get stat boosts for each one you do, whereas it alternates between HP, attack, and critical rate. So if you want to get a character at their maximum potential, you need to get all of them. It's like a 10% increase I think it's a 10% increase to attack and HP and a 1% increase to critical rate when you do all that. So she has a base 6% critical rate, and then adding on the sorry, I keep hitting the wrong page, but adding on the equipment, there's another 6%, and then she gets a 14% from that weapon. And that bonus effect looks like it gives another 16% on top of that, so yeah, that's a lot of critical rate. So she's sitting at around like 26%. So literally 1 out of every 4 of her attacks should be critical. Now, since I'm on the stat page, I need to break things down a little bit. HP is basically the health that the character adds to the entire total pool. I'll get more into that later on. Same thing for EX. It's the starting EX value they add to the whole pool. Attack is where they start going into stats that's specific to the character. So attack would be, of course, the amount of power they have behind their attacks and whatnot. The higher the better. You get the idea for that. It's basic stuff. Right under is the critical rate. Right under the critical rate, which says 26.44% for me. But this next thing that has EX and some Japanese spelling that I don't necessarily know, but I do know it translates into EX Rise. And what that means is it's basically the EX gauge she'll gain from when she lands a hit. And it can't be from using an EX skill, it has to be from the normal, regular old hit. And the last one is the it's something called count, but it's a little bit harder to explain. Again, I'll break it down when we get into the actual fight, but just know that that's a general range which she'll have her cooldown when she does any actions. So that's what you should know. And you'll see that CT on a lot of different stuff, including these things as well, the skills. Now, going into the next character I put on my team is L'Oreal. I know her name, and she's one of the supporters, but she's a very, very, very good supporter. I definitely got her unique accessory because it's really going to boost up her overall capability. And since she's support and not DPS, I mainly went towards boosting up EX and EX Rise for her. Mainly EX Rise, but that's generally what I went for her. So there's a thing for that one. But getting into her skills, her first skill I do know is a cooldown reduction on the girl that has the most attack, and it also gives them an attack buff. If they're a light character, these effects are double. And that already sounds good, but what you're using her for is the one I maxed out right here, which is the second one. And this second one, everybody on the team gets pushed forward a little bit, so they have less wait time. And if they're a light character, they get an attack boost, and a pretty substantial attack boost. So, you see where I'm going with that one. This is by far her best skill. Everybody that's used her agreed with that one. And you'll probably almost never use the first skill once you get this girl to 3 stars. I say once you do that because she starts off at 2 stars, and that's where this kicks in. Where, if you get extra duplicates of her, you'll get like, I think it's 10 for the 2 stars. But generally you're going to want to try and get, I'd say, more shards of her if you can. And that's assuming that you don't get like duplicates quick enough or whatever. Do whatever you can in order to get her to 100 shards she needs in order to become 3 star. That's when she truly shines, and that's when she gets extraordinarily powerful. But as you can see, if you get more stars, you get more stats, and that can help in the grand scheme of things, but you don't have to. But again, with her equipment, I more or less went towards the building up her gauges and all that too, and I just matched this just because you could. If you see these red up arrows when you put something on a character, it does increase the amount of attack power they get from that weapon, because it's the type of weapon they like. But that's not important when they're not the damage dealers. So that's something to know. I could give Venus more attack power if I matched her a weapon, but since magic weapons don't necessarily have any critical rate, that's why I didn't go for it. And then a lot of the magic weapons don't really have raw attack power either. So if you play around the skills and all that type of stuff, you can probably get some very powerful combinations without even matching weapons. So it all depends. But I absolutely got Royal's unique accessory, because that's a huge attack spike on her second skill, and it's going to pair very well with Venus. Now, this is the only other character I could suggest you absolutely try to get, because she's a very, very powerful one. Because I'm not sure how the other two are going to play out. Not yet, anyway. But it's this girl, and I don't fully know what her second ability is. I think it's an attack debuff and a chance to silence enemies. But what you're using her is mainly for her first skill, because it's like I do believe it's a cooldown reduction on the character's wait time. But the main function of this ability too, and you don't even have to increase its levels or anything too, but I did it anyway. It will take the character that's furthest from having a turn and put them matched up with the next character to have their turn. So say you have 5 girls, 2 of them are paired up in the middle, you got one behind her, and then you got one way off in the back. The one way off in the back is going to get paired up with the one that's behind this character. It's better to see it in action, but it is a very, very powerful ability when used right, and you definitely want to use her for that. But same thing as Royal, I basically gave her equipment that pretty much boosts the EX Raz, because that's my main focus when I get these supports to sip and do anything, because they're always going to normal attack. I just want to try and get that EX Raz going. I still want to have them start off with a good amount of EX gauge, though. Now, this next girl, I definitely suggest you get her if you can, because she's very powerful. But this one is a support, but she can be a bit of a damage dealer. I just gave her whatever for the time being, because I'm still in the process of getting her stuff. But her skills are very, very interesting, because there's a mechanic in this game called weight, as in the actual like body weight or something like that, but it's not how it's used in this game. Weight in this game is basically how likely you are to basically get delayed or delay an enemy. If anybody's played a game called Wild Arms 5, you already know how that basically is with the I think it's called DP and EP. But basically, weight will determine how far you get knocked back and how much you knock back, because that's what I'm going to refer to it as, since it's simpler. But it does affect your delay times. Her first skill will reduce the weight of an enemy, and if it's a boss that happens to get like multiple action bars or whatever, then you definitely want to use this ability at least once every so often, at least in my opinion, so you can knock the boss back even further. But my suggestion is to definitely focus on her second skill, because her second ability is where she really, really shines, and that is going to knock back all enemies, like a direct knockback on their action gauges. And it is a very powerful ability. It doesn't do that much damage, but that's not the point of it. You're trying to knock enemies back and delay their turns. That's the biggest thing with her. She's very, very good. She's very powerful. I don't know if she's in a permanent gacha yet. I know Venus is, because I pulled a duplicate, but I don't know if this girl is yet. But if she is, definitely try to get her. Now, the last one is just in there for like a flex slot, but I could put in somebody else if I really wanted to. But she's still good at what she does. Now, this first girl, this girl's first ability is a healing ability, and how healing works in this game, you don't heal one character, you basically heal the team. But And you'll see what I mean about that. But her healing is like a flat percentage, and then it's increased based on the number of like characters in the group. So she can end up healing quite a bit of HP if you do that right. But the main reason why I use that first ability is because it increases the weight of all the characters on the team. And if you remember, there's a character that reduces the weight of enemies. That means I'm going to have much more increased knockback, and enemies are going to have much less when you pair that together. It's not a bad strategy if you want to be honest. And for the second ability, it's a bit more costly than what the second skills usually are, but this will affect the EX gauges of yourself and your enemies. I think it increases the amount yours rises and lowers the amount that enemies have. I don't use this ability, but it may have some potential. I'm not 100% sure just yet, because reducing enemy EX could be a good thing, but increasing yours could be even better. So that's the thing. It's a general gist of how that works, but again, I don't really use that. I mainly use her for the heal. But at the time right now, there's an event where you can actually get another character that's got some decent healing. Only it's basically a flat heal for her first skill, and her second skill is the one that increases the weight of characters, but it's going to be more costly than the girl I showed. But since this is an event girl right now, you can basically just get her. Like, I'm almost at the point where getting her to 5 stars, just like another event girl. So, there you go. But, there's a list of a whole bunch of other good girls to use, too. Like, you can even pull this one right now, and she's pretty good with her abilities. It's somewhat like Venus's ability on the first skill, only it doesn't have the attack increase for her, like a self-attack up. And the second skill is basically for water instead of light. So, there you go. At least the attack buff's for water. Everybody's still getting pushed forward. So, she's another good one to use. I know this is another one you can pull right now that's also pretty good to use because the first skill knocks back enemies, and the second one is a shield. And when you're shielded, you do not get any knockback whatsoever. You do not get any damage whatsoever. So, as long as the shield stays up, you're protected. Now, it's not going to stay up for long, but some good timing can help out with that. And there's a lot of flexibility with quite a few girls in this. But there are generally some that you probably won't use because they're debuffs or whatever, but from what I've understood with this game, as long as you have a select few girls, you're probably going to beat the crap out of this game anyways. So, it all depends on how you work your teams, but definitely, I can say without a doubt that being in control of the action gauges goes probably the most way in this game. And then I also mentioned equipment. This is where you can basically like upgrade it and whatnot. I've gotten some stuff across the board, but do some playing around and all that. Generally have a good idea of what I'm going to go for. Unfortunately, I can't really show it on screen because I don't have the list with me right now, but again, I'm going to leave the wiki in the comments, and you can use that to try and plan out what you want. But me personally, I'm trying to get weapons and equipment that start off with a good EX gauge, but also give a good EX rise. And for the attackers, I'm trying to get weapons that will dish out the most damage. Like, this is a good one for 2 light girls, in fact. This fist weapon I got to level 50. But generally, you're going to want to try and make your own decisions on that one. And then this was an event weapon too, this Scythe. You probably already missed it, so unfortunately it could probably be a very, very sizable attack increase for girls, but it tends to work on a specific type to really get that attack boost, so there's that. But generally going into the actual gameplay and all that, one reason why I said to try and go as far as you can in the normal part of the storyline is because it affects these stages down here, how much of them you can do. Get as far as you can on that. And then once you do that, skip, immediate, there you go. And it's just going to just give you whatever is going to drop for you because it's still kind of random. But, again, you want to get as far as you can. And I'm not going to do all of it on camera, but generally, these potion things and the coins, you want to do that You'll get a lot of each though. So unless you're like massively upgrading a whole bunch of girls at once, you're probably not going to run out of either. Or you'll have a decent amount on hand. These are the more important ones though, because these hammers are hard to come by, and that's what you upgrade all 3 types of equipment with. These the second part is the materials you use for upgrading your skills. And this last one right here, which is broken down into 5 different elements, is how you increase characters' level caps. And the level cap starts off at 60 for all characters, but each increase will give them another 10 levels, so you can give them up to level 100. And I am almost done with this entire front line team. But generally you're going to want to do that as much as you can, because the fact that you only get like a few runs and you have 5 different elements, that's going to probably be the hardest part where you're upgrading your characters. Thankfully, your equipment and your skills have way more weight in this game than the actual levels, but the levels do help. So that's something to know. What your equipment is doing and what your skills are doing has far more weight than your base stats. But keep that in mind. And like I said, I'm not really going to do all this on camera. I'm trying to speed things up. This thing with the lock right here that I'm clicking on right there, that's where you get the trade materials for the unique accessories, and it periodically pops up. There's 2 of them. I've even done a video of me clearing the hardest difficulty on the second one. And you're going to want to keep saving up like every 10,000 in order to trade for one of those copies of the unique accessories. Try to prioritize the girls that had the most beneficial effects. Like, I immediately went after L'Oreals. But next, I'd probably go after Venus's. So, there's that. But, there's also this thing here, too, which is this tower event as well. And, well, it's not really an event, but it's like a daily thing. Now, I haven't done it as much as I should, admittedly, but I did do the main tower fully cleared out. So, there's all 34s of that. Lots of materials you can get from this stuff. So, my suggestion truly is to get as far as you can. Now, this last little box is where the events are, and this is where I'm actually going to show some gameplay. So, first off, events. Try and do as many of these missions as you can. You'll learn which missions get cleared if you just pay some minor attention. It's not too hard to figure out. But generally, you're going to be clearing some stages and then clearing like one of the bosses you can host, and then you're going to go and clear all this stuff out too, and try and get some extra like materials and all that type of stuff. It's not that hard. But when it comes to doing like event clears and all that type of stuff, what I like to do, for the time being, I like using these because they're not too bad, and you'll get one back every single day anyways. So if you want, you can stock them up or just use them. But this is the other thing. You can use these little star crystals, the same thing you use to summon. You can use these, and it starts off at 40 for every 120 stamina. And that's fine. I would even suggest reloading with the 40s, because you can get quite a bit of star jewels or star crystals. I don't know what they're called. You can get quite a bit of them. But after the 40, that's when it becomes up to you, because I don't mind doing 80, but I'm actually trying to save up right now. So a few times after you do 40, it becomes 80. A few times after you do 80, it becomes 120. After you do 120 enough times, it becomes 160. It'll just keep increasing. My suggestion, if you're really trying to save up, don't go past the 40. If you don't mind spending a little bit of extra, don't go past the 80. And if you really don't care, don't go past 120. But me personally, I think it's already a waste by the time it hits 120. So that's just me though. So again, go in here, just skip stages. Things with events though, it works differently, because characters you may have might actually have a little bit of a percentage boost. I managed to pull both banner girls and get the event girl, so that's why I'm getting such a massive boost right here. You can clear the stage with whoever, but the one you skip the stage with is going to be the ones that apply the boost. So you can clear it with somebody that doesn't even have a boost, but then take them out and put somebody that does, for instance. So this is going to give me the full 166%. If I used the other team, it wouldn't have done that. And as you can see, I get like 12,909 right there. And I also leveled up as well. But just to show it on camera too, like see, this is 22%. I'm only going to skip once because I'm not trying to burn too many of these. But I skipped once, and you notice that how it's like a significantly different ratio. Like see, 432, but only 96. It would have been way more than that 432 for this bonus right here. So it depends on the team you're using when you skip. So you don't have to replay the stage. You can just skip and do that. That's something that I wish other games did, which is very thankful for that one. Yeah, see, I got way more than the 2160 when I went back to this team. So there's that. Now, the other thing they want me to do is to clear the boss, and this is where I'm going to actually get into the gameplay a little bit. So I'm going to slow down the active party, which I'm going to change because the bonus don't matter in this boss ticket part, I've noticed. But who knows, they might change that later. Now, when you start off a fight, pay attention because this is one thing that happens at the beginning of every single run. And you definitely want to try and get your timing down as much as you possibly can on this one. So, showcase a boss or whatever. Now, that first thing with the ring is a rocket start. The closer you get it to, the further your characters get pushed up. Now, like I said, I'm going to slow it down to like first speed. So, there's a few things that's going on here. First off, everybody's got their own little action gauges, which is how close they are to the wait times. If you're doing some blue stacks like I am, you have to click and hold. But as you can see how far they get pushed towards the center whenever there's an action that's being done. Like see charge, you'll see how far back she goes. Unison, you'll see everybody move up because it's going to affect wait times. Attack, she gets pushed way further back, but also enemies can get knocked back. So generally that's like your action gauges or whatnot. The closer to the center, the sooner your turn. Now, when you sometimes see this, you'll see like these little like blue or red spike wheel looking things behind a character's portrait. Those determine who's going to clash. And the one that's currently showing in red is the one that's going to win that clash if there isn't any sort of changes. That's what you call a rumble. And rumbles will just make both of those, well, I can't say both, everybody involved because it can be more than one. But rumbles will make everybody involved use up their turn. Choose this wisely because it's going to knock out the stun gauge of the loser, and they'll be stunned for a little bit. But it's also going to suck up the winner's turn. So there's that. Now, what I like to do, I don't even use this girl just immediately. I will charge her. Charge will build up your EX gauge. Now, each bar of the EX gauge is worth 100. And as you notice, the time doesn't move unless the action gauges start moving. So, once we're waiting for somebody's turn, that's when the action gauges start moving and this timer goes down. So you got plenty of time to think. Take your time if you need to. But, getting into this, you see there's a player HP bar right here where it says 35,000 for me, because that's how much health I have right now. Enemy has 50,000. Everyone shares the same bar. So all the enemies share that same 50,000. All my characters share the same 35,000. There's only one exception to this, and that's that's when you go after that little that EXP potion thing I mentioned earlier, where I skipped it and got some EXP potions for skipping. The enemies there have their own HP. That's the only case I've seen where it was separate HP bars. Everything else is shared. Now, the EX gauge is also shared, and it's 100 for every little segment. So you see 3 that's currently lit up for me. And the only other thing is the stun stars, which is like how many. Each time you get hit, you lose 1 or even more stars depending on the skill. Some skills take out more than 1. But you generally will see the attack character getting stunned once that goes out, not the entire team. And that's kind of dangerous in some situations if you get stunned, because that attack character is not going to move for quite a long time. Or if it's from a rumble, it'll be a short time. But either way, the stun character takes extra damage. And that's something that not too many people knew. But going into when you do anything, if you hit Unison, it's going to try and match up with characters that are not in Unison. And it'll only match up with the next one in the line. So that's why if I hold down Unison, it will pair up Venus, but it won't pair up anybody else with these two. And charge will charge them both. So it'll give me EX gauge accordingly and the wait times accordingly. But I want to attack, so what I'm going to do is click attack. Now you get to pick which character you want to do the initial hit. They'll be the one that determines the stats of the follow-up hit too if they're paired together. So that's something you also know. And you may also want to use them in a specific order to get their stuff off. But I'm going to hit attack on this enemy. You see how much they're going to get affected by this, but it's going to change some other stuff as well. So Wariel, I'm going to attack, and it gives me a chance to use her skill. The first initial hits would build up the EX gauge, but the skills do not. So that's something to know. And I'm going to use this girl's first skill. I found out if you're playing this game, you don't have to click the actual skill box, but it helps. But as you can see right there, that's the follow-up hit, and that was based off of Wariel's damage. Now, since this girl back here, this dark element girl, since I used her first skill, it pushed up another character with these two. So the one that I charged is now unison with these other two. And if I want, I can try to hold off a little bit and get everybody paired together, but you don't have to try and get multiple unisons. The more people in unison, the stronger the follow-up hit. However, the more wait time you're probably going to have. So keep that in mind. And this is going to be a bit overkill, but I'm going to just attack right now. Now I'm going to take Venus, and I'm going to attack this character. Use her first skill. And it's going to buff her attack power while dealing a crap ton of damage. And you see I already finished off the enemies. Now, this is just overkill, but you can do this. If you're trying to get a better rating, I suggest you do it, because it's going to give you a chance to get your HP back, and it's going to give you a chance to deal more damage. Your rating is based on that stuff. And then there's a follow-up hit as well. The damage done by the follow-up hit is also to each individual enemy, so if there's multiple enemies, you'll see them all take that same damage, and it all pulls to the same HP. Now, when you win, you get a character EXP, and you also get a bit of experience for the affection. It's pretty minuscule, don't worry about it too much. And this is what I mean by the results. Now, you get God rank if you meet all three of these conditions. Generally, if you keep your HP above that threshold that it said, in my case 50%, some stages want something like 80%. But if you keep your HP above that threshold, you'll be fine, because you'll probably get the points for the other stuff. But for those that really want to know, the first thing is the points for clearing. The second thing is the points for time. Notice how there are 7 seconds that went by. That was that clock that drained down, and that's also the CT thing as well I mentioned before. So for each second that passes is also 1 CT. So if it said 40 CT for a buff, that means 40 seconds for that buff. But I only let 7 seconds go by, so none of the buffs were really going to wear out anyway. The thing with HP is how much HP you have left by percentage. I had 100% HP, and even then I healed with this girl on screen, so it would have went back up anyway. This first max right here is the combo. So the more hits you deal, the higher that score becomes. The second one is the damage you've dealt in one attack, meaning like one group of girls or whatever attacking at one time. So if I had 3 girls, all the damage they did in that same turn would count together as for that max value, for example. So that's a score as well. So that's how you basically affect your scores and all that if you really want to. Now, I've already cleared these, so that gave me some stuff right there. But generally, you do want to plan out your attacks and everything, because it can get very strategic. Now, I can go into a harder fight, but I don't think the enemies are going to survive, because I'm pretty overpowered right now. And don't worry about the recommended power rating. It's like I got 101 power, but honestly, if you do things properly, you can take on enemies that's like almost 800 power, 800,000 power, and still win without taking damage even. But it's still based on how good you use everything. So I'm going to start off. I'm not even going to use that dark element girl stuff. So I'm going to do this. Break out my buff. And the Warrior's going to buff up every white girl's attack power. I don't need anything else. You can speed this up if you want to. And remember, time only drains when you're doing the wait time, so it's still based off of that. So I will indeed speed this up just to get things off a little bit better. So I'm going to attack with this. Now, if they survive this, just watch how much they get pushed back. But they probably won't. Because Venus just does so much damage, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, they didn't survive. So, I basically just one-shot them. But that one girl's ability would have pushed them so far back. And that's a few things you want to try and factor in. It's like, Unison's weaknesses do come in play here too. Unison's weaknesses, rumbles, all that type of stuff. You need to plan ahead for all of that. If you hit an enemy's weakness, they take extra damage and they get knocked back further than they normally would. So that's a big thing. Pair that with stun damage, you can start doing crap tons of damage. But honestly, I think it would be better to just do one of these because this is going to showcase characters I haven't even really raised, but I can put them in. In fact, I'm going to take a few of them out because I know I'm going to use these two girls because they're very, very good. Now, I won't need you two, and I'll put in you two. Because it really doesn't matter who I use, so long as I got those two in. Now, like I said, this is weaker because I haven't really raised any water girls, so it's all like basically levels, if anything. But I'm going to charge, I'm going to double charge, and I'm going to let her do her thing. So she's going to attack an enemy. I'm going to buff up, and it's going to buff everybody too. And as you've seen, the weakness damage and all that too. Now, this one girl has a 7 right here on her. That's how many quote-unquote notes she's behind. Notes is basically each tick of the action gauge, and it doesn't necessarily go by a second. So, an enemy would have to push her up 7 notes before she even starts moving down that part. That's something to know. Like, see, now she's suddenly 6 notes when I did that. Now, this girl, I can even push her back even further if I really wanted to. But they're going to die. Because that would have pushed her back. Depending on how you plan out your characters and whatnot, this stuff is pretty easy. Like, I haven't even raised these girls. I don't even have equipment on them, and they still do all that. Also, some characters cover up the others, too. Ignore that, because, positioning your characters is more important. Because, sometimes you want the characters to the right to actually have some EX gauge before you use them, and that's why I placed those two to the furthest right. Some people say to do it for damage, but I'd say factor in both, because if you're going to deal more damage with your buffers being to the far right, you probably should put them there. Now, last thing I'm going to show too is this other little thing too. This is a section for a lot of the scenes, but this is important. Now, the two on the right happen to be those scenes. I'm not even going to really explain. The one on the bottom right here, all your event scenes right here. But this is the important part, because you have to do these. These are storyline scenes. You have to do these. Interesting thing about these is the fact that they give you preset characters and equipment and all that in order to use, so you don't have to worry about changing your teams or nothing. But you still have to clear them. If you don't, you don't get access to the storyline stages. So you have to do enough of those in order to get the storyline stages going. But, the very last thing I'm going to do is show a few things with the menus in the shops. First off, this little menu button right here, this bag is how you use some of the stuff that you get. And you do want to pay attention to a few of it, because these little things right here, these whole row of crystals up top, when you get 100, it will let you pull out another character, sometimes even 3 stars. So that's another thing. This shop right here has all your trade stuff, and if you're spending on the game, there you go to the left. But you want the one on the right mostly, because this is where you trade for all that stuff. Like those little event currencies I got, here you go right here. And I can trade for that right there. In fact, if I get another boss clear, then I basically got enough to get her to 5-star, and I don't have to worry about any more of that stuff. Your gacha tickets, if you pull enough times, you'll get guaranteed characters. 200 pulls is essentially, I think, 60,000 of those star crystals or whatever. So those that want guaranteed pity, there you go. But from what I found out, these tickets turn into gold, not these little red things. If you want these red specific tickets, you gotta pull in the normal gacha, and I would not do that. Stick to the banners, especially since these characters might be limited. Like her and her, these two are swimsuit characters. They're probably not coming back for a while. This is also important because this is where you trade for all the different character shards. But the thing is, these little yellow things aren't that easy to come by. And made even worse by the fact that when you trade enough of them, the cost is going to go up. You see how far I went for L'Oreal before I ended up getting her to 3-star. So yeah, there you go. But this goes in tandem with this last part right here, because if there's characters you missed, you can get them by getting enough of their shards from that one thing. But to get 3-star characters that you don't have, it's going to take 500 of those. So if you want the 3-star characters you missed, you need 500 of these little yellow things. Good luck. Use them however you wish, though, because I definitely made a beeline for L'Oreal, and I don't really need them now anymore. Now, when you do the daily stages and all that, you get these little medals for these things. You can trade for this stuff at your leisure. My suggestion is to get what you need most, but you can save them up. For that Makai thing I mentioned, where you get the unique accessories, that's here. I also would suggest getting these things as well. These monthly star things as well, if you can. Now, this is friend points, and if you have 20 friends, you can find out where you get your friends to in the menu thing. But you have to follow them for the points. They don't have to follow you. But 20 friends, you get 200 points per day, and you can start getting stuff like this. This thing that's sold out is your priority. Get that every month. After that, I would suggest getting the gacha tickets, and then after that, you can get what you want or save up for later. Now these, when you do stages, you can set it to auto sell equipment, like 1 or 2-star equipment that drops. You don't have to, but when you go into your equipment thing, you can hit a little tab in order to sell it, and I'll show it off. But that's how you get the medals in order to trade for these extra hammers. So, say I wanted more hammers or whatever, I can go here, and I can hit this thing that says off. Once I hit it on, it's going to bring up all this type of stuff. So, say if I wanted to sell this, then I click on it, and it's got a little thing, this button down here will light up, that yellow button. But I have it locked because I want to keep it, so there you go. So the part where you upgrade is also where you sell. If you want it to auto sell, the easiest way is to go into a stage and set it here. Like say if I wanted to do this stage, click this button that says on. I don't know why it says 6 for the characters. But click this button that says on. I turn all of this stuff on right here, but then turn on the stars I want to sell. I want to sell the 1-stars all the time. I don't want to sell the 2-stars yet. There's other option menus there too if you want. And the last thing, I brought up friends. You're going to want to do that. Here's your friend list right here. Like, just click this button in the corner with the heart hand or whatever. These are the friends you're already with on this first tab. These are the ones you can follow, like suggested followings or whatever, on this second tab. So, there you go for that. You have to follow 20 of them in order to get the full friend points per day. But also when you clear stuff too, you get things right here. And you can just claim it. As for the missions, there's beginner missions, there's daily missions. I tend to do all the daily missions by skipping all the daily dungeons and all that type of stuff. And then going in here. You'll eventually clear them all. But like I said, just go as far as you can and all this type of stuff. Go in. If you've already cleared it, there you go. Skip, max, go. Easy. Because once you cleared it with God rank, you don't ever have to clear it again. You could just skip and claim your crap. But The last thing, which is very, very important though too, is the whole thing with when you're upgrading your characters too, is the fact that you have to be kind of careful of what you do with them, because like, I don't mind using this girl and she's actually pretty strong, but as you can see, I just barely have enough of these materials for a level 90, and I'm going to need more, and the cost of upgrading is going to be higher. Really try to plan out who you want to raise, because if you go raising everybody however you want, just willy-nilly and all that type of stuff, you are going to run out of materials fast. This game is pretty harsh on materials, so definitely plan out ahead. But once you hit a certain point, you probably will rack up on these EXP potions. Like, I could just go on a leveling spree if I wanted to, but increasing level caps is a different story. Increasing skill levels is a different story. And the stars are even worse, but I don't really need to worry about anybody's stars, basically. But, anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon. This took a while to try and go through all this type of stuff, but there's quite a few things I tried to explain and whatnot to really get you going. But how you play is still ultimately up to you. And then on top of that too, there's also the fact that you definitely need to look up a wiki if you're trying to make the most of your teams and all that. But, that's all for this. More of this will come soon. And one last little hint too, but it should be obvious, so that's why I left it till now. But yeah, see, they already traded my tickets right here for gold, and I hate that. It's like I couldn't get the red tickets. But one obvious little thing I should mention too, like, this is where you use your tickets when you get enough of them. 3-star guaranteed tickets. The normal tickets I save up for when they get 10, so I can get my guaranteed 2 stars. If you're trying to get copies of L'Oreal, I suggest you definitely do that. Only use them when you get 10. And for those that want to somehow pull on the normal gacha, here you go right here. But this is probably the only other one you really would care about aside from the ones that pop up top. This is a guaranteed 3-star right out the gate, but you need to get the paid version of these star crystals or whatever. But Banner Girl, both are very good, but this one's better in my opinion. And I would only worry about the Banner Girls because all the normal permanent girls are in these banners. So, there you go. But again, this ultimately up to you. And I don't know why, you just can't change Venus being back here, but you can change who's in the front right here. Like, I got L'Oreal on this part. You can even slide over, and I got a character here. And I got a character here. I just put in whoever for the sad characters. You can also change the music in this game that plays on the title screen. If you're curious about that, you can click that jukebox you see me slide to, or hit the one right here in the menu. So you can basically change what music plays on your main menu screen. But anyways, that's all for this. More will come soon, and take care.